Hello, everyone, and welcome to the live stream, first one that we're doing. I'm joined by Ben and Paul, and we are going to be talking about the Tottenham game, which is due to kick off in around 15 minutes' time. So, introductions out the way. Ben, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Not too bad at all. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And Paul, how are you doing?
Yeah, man.
So Everton v Tottenham today. Obviously, top four or a battle for top four anyway for Tottenham. Everton in a relegation dogfight. I think before the game kicks off, it'll be good to talk about the fixture, talk about what we're expecting from the fixture, but also have a prediction on what we think the score is going to be. So, Tottenham, mixed bag really this season. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good. And Everton, obviously, Dyche coming in as manager, hoping to change their fortunes over. Ben, how do you see the game going?
I think Everton might sneak it tonight. To be honest with you, I think the assistant manager of Tottenham, I don't know what his name is, the bull geezer, whoever he is. He ain't really got much experience, obviously, in that. So the team, from a Tottenham perspective, isn't really changed. So it's just, for me personally, I think it's just down to the players and if they want to really perform. But I think with Sean Dyche, it's always a hard game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Going to any Sean Dyche team and trying to get something. But I think is Dominic Calvert-Lewin still injured? Does anyone know?
I think
always injured all the time.
I think.
I mean, they're playing Damari Gray up top again, who's not obviously a full striker, so that could be a bit of a downfall for Everton. But I think they've got enough just to maybe sneak it 1-0 or 2-1.
Yeah. Paul, how do you see the game going?
Yeah, I think I'm not too dissimilar to Ben, to be honest. I think Everton could end up going and winning it. I think it's either going to be Everton sneaky or Tottenham just completely dominate.
Yeah.
Because when your man was in charge, when Conte was back in it, and after he'd had his operation, Tottenham didn't look too bad.
I think Tottenham have been weird this season. It's like, I think especially at the start of the season, they didn't really start going in games, did they? Till like after half time. I think there was a lot of
slow starters, yeah.
I think there's a lot of thinking like pre-season about how they're like high energy now. Like Conte wanted them to be able to run for like more than 90 minutes and just keep going to the final whistle. So you saw them in the starter games not really get going, and suddenly the second half, when other teams were starting to sort of fade out, Spurs still had that energy to keep on going. But then they've had some games where by the time they actually start playing well in the second half, they're already down and out. I think when they played Liverpool, I think they were already 2-0 down before they actually started playing good.
Yeah.
Whereas Everton, Everton's problem has been, they've just struggled to get going in a lot of games. It's almost like I don't know how to describe Everton's form this season. It's almost they just don't really start in some games. At some games they play, they don't look good, and then when Dyche came in, he installed a bit more sort of grit and fight to them. But I think their main problem is without that top goal scorer up front, like someone who's going to get them sort of 20 goals a season. They've seriously missed a proper goal scorer.
Yeah, if you don't score goals, you're not going to stay up.
That's it, yeah. I think they look like a team that are trying to get their confidence back.
Yeah.
Under Sean Dyche, and it kind of makes them a little bit hit and miss. But I think Dyche will keep in the Premier League anyway. I don't think that's really in question. And I think they'll look at this game and think there's no reason why we can't go out and win it. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't say that Tottenham aren't going to put on a performance. I mean, they've put out a strong team. They've still got quality in there. Kane's always got the ability to score any minute from anywhere. and obviously Son and Kulusevski just behind him. So it's not like it's going to be an easy game or anything by any means. But
speaking of Son and Kane, obviously Kane has performed now. Kane normally performs scoring goals and everything that goes with that. Son, on the other hand, has been quite disappointing this season.
Yes, it's been disappointing for the past season and a half. To be fair, I don't know if Conte really truly knew how to put him and Kane together.
I think last season was his best season.
Oh, it was last season. Yeah, I don't know.
Last season, he scored the most he's ever scored, didn't he? Won the Golden Boot. I think. And then this season, he's got 6.
Didn't Son himself say? Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, didn't Mourinho sort of, when Mourinho was in charge, he kind of identified Son and Kane as being the best players in Tottenham, so he kind of got them two playing really well, forming one of the best partnerships.
He was making Harry Kane drop deeper, weren't he? So it was letting Son running beyond.
Yeah.
And that's how Son ended up scoring more goals. But I think it sort of played on into last season as well. But I think Son, when he's on fire, he's one of the best players in the Prem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Him and Kane are they are the best partnership in the Premier League when they're on fire. And sorry, yeah, go right. So last season, Son obviously bagged 23 goals in 35 games. But this season, he only scored 6 in 26. So there's obviously a problem, whether it's confidence or it's just not this. I don't know, but I think Tottenham have noticed that. So.
He could still beat what he scored last season if he pulls his finger out.
Well, you reckon he can get another 15 goals?
Pulls his finger out now. He could get 15 goals towards the end of the season.
How many games are left? Is it 8 games left? 2 goals a game? There you
go. 9 at now, so 9 games.
Yeah. 2 goals a game from now on.
Yeah, he'll be all right.
That'd be quite a stat if he managed to do that.
He could try and score a few hat tricks as well, so he can have some days off.
Yeah, maybe Haaland can teach him. He's actually on 99 goals now for Tottenham. So 1 more to make the 100. Maybe today's the day.
Yeah, maybe. So just moving away from the game slightly, whilst we've got a few minutes before kickoff. Obviously, Paul, you wasn't on the video yesterday, so I just wanted to get your thoughts on what's happened with Chelsea and Graham Potter.
Todd Bowley's Roman Abramovich in disguise.
Do you agree that it was the right decision from a Chelsea point of view, or do you think he should have been given more time?
No, I think you've brought him in as a manager that's never been at that end of the table. You've spent a ridiculous amount of money on a ridiculous amount of players, and then when they've not gelled and bedded in together, you've sacked the manager. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
And what are they hoping for sacking him? What are they hoping happens now? What were they ever going to get achieved by sacking him? Like, they're not going to make it top 4. So they might as well have just left it and then give him till next season. If he then doesn't do it next season, then you sack him, don't you?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I was thinking about this earlier on, and the only reason I can see them sacking him now is because of the managers that are currently available to replace him. Obviously, there's been a lot of rumours about Tottenham going for Nagelsmann. Maybe they thought this was their chance to get him. If they didn't get him now, they would lose out on that opportunity. So pulling the trigger now gives them the opportunity to bring in the manager that they want. Could be one reason why they've made that decision.
Why does anybody want? Why does all of a sudden? Why is Nagelsmann suddenly the manager that everybody seems to want? He hasn't really proven anything either. He's won things at Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Anyone can win. Winning things at Bayern Munich is like winning things for Celtic.
Yeah, but you could say that though, in a roundabout way with Guardiola. He's only ever done Barcelona and Bayern Munich before Man City.
Yeah, but he was at Barcelona, and then he turned them into one of the best teams, if not one of the best teams we've ever seen. One of the best teams at that time. But there's Real Madrid in that league. There is nobody in the Germany league. Until recently, when Dortmund started to perform, there is literally nobody that competes with Bayern Munich in that league.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. And some other breaking news that has come out today is apparently Leicester City approached Potter to see if he was interested in the job, and Potter said no.
I don't blame him.
I mean, I can understand from Leicester's point of view why you would think that Potter would be a good appointment for them. Like, I get that part. I just don't know if they had any realistic expectations of getting Potter. Like, to go from Chelsea to a relegation fight, I think that's a drop too far for him. I think if Leicester were like a mid-table team,
you can mix the Chelsea and going to Chelsea out. Going from Brighton to Leicester is a drop too far.
Yeah.
At the moment, yeah.
I think when Potter went to Chelsea, like I think I could understand why Chelsea went through it and honestly why he took it, but it was a big step for him to take to go into that position. So they had like a new chairman and new staff in there. They're trying to do this different project, different style of taking the club and moving them forward. And Potter was almost thrown into the firing line as like bait. So like, all right, go and see if you can do it because we need someone to be in there. And it was almost like it was never going to work for Potter because there was no indicate. Well, there was because they extended his contract, but in my opinion, if he didn't pick up his results, there was no indication he was going to be there at the end of the season.
I don't think it was. I think it was a no-lose situation for him. You go to Chelsea, where everybody gets sacked, or you do well.
It's worth 28 million, isn't it? So.
I think anyone going to Chelsea at the moment is going there, and you're expecting to be sacked after 9 months because you've not got to the top 4, or you've not done what they want you to do, or you've had 2 bad results in a row. They're not. For me, going to Chelsea, I don't think he's anything unless you win a cup. I don't think you can lose going there because they just go, well, they sack everybody. Doesn't matter.
I mean, what made him a quality manager for Chelsea to think, yeah, here's the man that's going to win us a Premier League? So I think he's a good manager. Don't get me wrong, but
I think they looked at what he'd done at Brighton and how he'd found players and developed players into top players. They obviously thought, well, hold on a minute, if we bring him in here, one, he plays nice, attractive football, and if he can uncover some gems that we can then transform into top quality players and we can push our way up the table. But then they haven't done it the way Potter wants to do it. They've gone out and bought every bloke who stood still long enough. They were like, yeah, I can join Chelsea.
Yeah, I think I was watching. I saw an interview or something earlier on today about the situation at Chelsea, and they were saying about how Potter now has 36 players in the Chelsea squad to pick from, and there was things such as they had nicknames for him, like calling him Harry Potter, and things like that. Yeah, and I was just like, it made me think, if you're spending the kind of money Chelsea were spending on players, as well as bringing in the players from the youth team, like the likes of Mason Mount, for example, and then you've got a squad of 36 players to pick from. And as you said, Paul Potter's the kind of manager where he'll take a player and then he'll develop them and turn them into a brilliant player. When he's,
and I don't think he had a very big squad at Brighton either. I think he liked to use I think he had a backbone of a team and he used that quite regularly. I don't think he chopped and changed. But if you've got 36 people all signed for 60 odd million each, they look at themselves as star players. They look at themselves thinking, I should be starting every week. You've only got 11 spaces to put 36 people into.
Yeah,
it's very true.
And then also, like, it made me think with the nicknames that they were coming out with. Okay, Harry Potter's not exactly the most damaging of nicknames. I'm pretty sure Potter will recover from that. But like, how important is it nowadays to keep that dressing room happy? Because obviously there was rumours before about Solskjaer lost the dressing room and that cost him his job. There's been other managers.
That's the most important thing in any football club, whether it's grassroots or top end of the Premier League. If you haven't got a happy dressing room, you haven't got a football team.
Yeah, I agree with that. But then the thing is, like, I mean, we experienced it with Hardy Dean and Onsa Cranker, and whilst Karanka should have gone, Harley Dean, we assume, led that sort of player protest to get him out of there. And it's that kind of thing.
He does that regularly, Harley Dean, supposedly.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah. But look, I don't agree with that thing, but that shows how easy it is for players just to not get along with a manager and just create that conflict within the club, because part of, he's gone through like management skills, like leadership skills, like outside of football. Like that's what he done, and he spent a lot of years doing it. So for him to lose the dressing room almost seems uncharacteristic from his perspective, considering that's how he runs the club and stuff.
But if you're,
it's hard to keep a load of people. It's easy at Brighton to keep the players happy, because you'll have a group of players, then you'll have a couple of players who know they are the top dogs, and then you'll have the group of players underneath them that know their role as, well, we give them the ball, we make sure that they get on the ball and they'll win us the game. The rest of us have to do the hard work. You go to Chelsea and you've got 11 players who all think they're the best player in the team.
Yeah.
So I think keeping Brighton happy and keeping, especially when he's signing players on, like, is it 8-year contracts, and they're going to be on ridiculous amounts of money, and they're signing for £80 million. They're coming to the club thinking, you spent £80 million on me, I should be starting every week.
Yeah, and that's the problem, mate. That's why I think going to a team like Chelsea maybe was just a step too far for him at that point. But I agree that he can take a team. I mean, Brighton are big at the moment anyway, so there's not many teams above them that they consider to go. But he could easily walk into a Tottenham, for example, and do a job there. But I think Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, Man U, that kind of club, I think is a little bit too far from at the moment.
I think he would have been all right if he was given time. Time's not something you get at Chelsea, and is he the one making? Did he want all them players, or has Todd Bowley gone? Oh, he's available, we'll buy him. He's available, we'll buy him. Like, you've got to sit there thinking, is he just being told, you get him on the training pitch, you make him play football, or is he going, I want that player, and I want that player, and I want that player? Because if you've got a bloke who's buying you players that you don't want, how are you going to make a team out of them?
Yeah, there's got to be an element of that as well, surely. Like Mudryk, for example, he was odds-on favourite to go to Arsenal. I don't think his Potter wanted him. What need did he have for Mudryk?
Was Potter even in charge when they signed Mudryk? I'm sure they were signing players and they haven't even got a manager.
He must have been, because he was in charge before January, wasn't he?
Was it? I just sit there thinking that some of them players, they're not players that. No, I don't think any manager goes out and says, sign me 36 new players.
At the same time, though, I don't think that Todd Bowley's the kind of owner of a club that goes, oh, I know Mudryk. Like, he's obviously been advised by somebody saying to him, this is a world-class player, this is a world-class player, this is a world-class player. And then Todd Bowley's going, okay, yeah, we'll spend the money on him. Like, I don't think if you're the owner of a football club, like, yes, you can be a football fan, but realistically, did either of you two hear about Mudryk before Chelsea signed him?
I did, but only because of the interest of Arsenal.
Nothing major.
And then,
but then you got to think, but is because it's one thing the manager going, actually, Mudryk, I want him. So Fofana, I want him. And then everyone else that he signed. And then somebody who Todd Bowley knows and he's hired to be an advisor going, Mudryk, go and get him. Go and get Sterling. Go and get... Like, if you're signing players the manager don't want, then you're not gonna get the best out of them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I suppose the other question now would be, what do you think's next for Potter? Do you think he'll look to get straight back into management, Paul, or do you think he'll take a break?
He clearly doesn't want to get straight back in, because he could go to Leicester if he wanted to, couldn't he? So I think if I was him, I'd sit with me millions of pounds that I've just got, and I'd have a little a little breather, and then I'd see. I think I'd sit out to the end of the season, and then I'd have a look at the start of the next season about who's about and who needs a new manager.
Yeah,
and then I'd take it from there.
That's what I said. I think for him to jump into a new team straight away, in my opinion, is probably not the best thing to do. I mean, how much has he walked away with from the Chelsea sacking? What, 20-odd million?
Well, what was he?
More than that?
Wasn't he contracted till 2030 or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to quickly on my screen just bring up the lineups for today's game, because I'm aware that we have now kicked off. So we can see. I don't know if you guys have got the lineups there as well.
Yep.
I haven't got the lineups. I've got the game.
So you're watching the game, but okay. So yeah, what I want to talk about is obviously
Damari Gray missed his chance in the second minute.
Oh, so just quickly running through the teams, as we can see. Just gonna. So in goal, you've obviously got Jordan Pickford, something of Everton. Jordan Pickford in goal for Everton. Back four of Seamus Coleman, Keane, Tarkowski, and Godfrey. And then they're playing a 5-man midfield with Alex Iwobi, Decore, Idrissa Gueye, Anana, McNeil, and then Damari Gray up front. Damari Gray, Ben, you're quite familiar with him, obviously, from his time at Birmingham.
Paul should be familiar with it as well.
Say that again?
Paul should be familiar with him as well.
I was just starting with you. I was going to go to Paul afterwards. Do you think he's a striker?
No, he's not an out-and-out striker. He's a winger, isn't he? Maybe playing that same role just beyond a striker, but no, he's not an out-and-out. But if you look at the team that they've got and the team that they've put out there, to be honest with you, he's probably the. I mean, they've got Ellis Sims, who they recalled from Sunderland on the bench, who's an out-and-out striker. He scored against Chelsea.
Yeah. Before
the international break, that they probably should be playing, in my opinion. But in Dyche, you've got to trust him because he's a good manager. So he's obviously seeing something or having a certain way of playing that allows Damari Gray to suit that style. But I mean, it's set up as a 4-5-1, but my assumption would be he probably doesn't play as a 4-5-1.
No, I think
you probably see Gray rotate and
it doesn't quite look at as a 4-5-1 the way I'm looking at it now. It looks like they've got McNeil out on one wing and
like a 4-3-3,
like a front three, yeah.
So yeah, you'd have Iwobi pushing up on the one side, McNeil on the other side, and then
you'd have another and Decore box to box type.
Yeah, but looking at the defense, they do have Neil Maupay on the bench. Ellis Sims as well is on the bench, so they do have some strikers that they can bring on if they need to. But it looks like a team that's set up.
They've just missed a chance every time.
Oh, so it does look like a team though that's set up to be difficult to break down, difficult to create chances against, but then they can spring an attack against Tottenham. Obviously, as you say, they've got the box-to-box midfielders who can push up along with the wingers to make 5 players attacking, but then also sitting back with your bank of 5 and bank of 4 defensively as well.
So I mean, they've been playing. They've been playing this formation a few times under Dyche in the last few games. So I don't think it's a case of they're playing that to counter Tottenham's kind of wider sort of players. So you got Perisic and Porro as like your wing backs, and then Son and Kulusevski will probably drift out wider with Kane and go in the middle. So, but I don't think it's a counter to that. I think that's just generally how they play.
Yeah, and then moving on to the Tottenham lineup. So they're playing a 3-4-2-1. Lloris in goal, Clement Longley, Dyer and Romero as their back 3. Perisic and Porro on either side. Højbjerg and Skip in the middle. Son and Kulusevski, and then Kane up top. So I think that we've seen this formation quite a lot with Tottenham, where Perisic and Porro can come act almost as wing backs. So they'll come back and make a back 5 when needed, and then Son and Kulusevski they can either push up to make a front 3, or depending on if they need to, they can settle out wide as well. to act more as wide midfielders if the need arises. Do you think this has been a good formation for Tottenham? So obviously we spoke at the start about the form and everything that's happened with Tottenham, about how they don't always start games well. They always come into the game into the second half. Do you think the formation has something to do with that?
I think a 3 at the back formation is a stubborn formation if played right. So, Thomas Frank's a perfect example of playing that way in terms of how bright itself and very stubborn, hard to beat, and can go and win. But I mean, it's a question to you guys: has anyone ever won the league playing 3 at the back?
Probably not to my
I mean,
knowledge.
did Conte win it with Chelsea with 3 at the back? I don't think he did he?
I don't know. I couldn't answer that. I the top of my head, I don't think so, but I could also be very, very wrong.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at right now, the best teams out of all the leagues, they're all playing for. Well, that's a lie. So you got Tuchel now playing 3 at the back with Bayern Munich. That's his more preferred, but they haven't won the league yet. And as Paul said earlier, like Bayern in the Bundesliga is pretty much the only dead cert, really.
Yeah.
So, but I think the formation can work. I think it sort of proved last season with the way that Son and Kane played together that if you get the partnerships correct in that formation, then it can be good. But Conte was quite a negative manager as well. He sort of relied on keeping the ball and being a bit more intricate. Whereas if Man City played this under Pep Guardiola, maybe he could win it with a 3 at the back. I don't know.
Yeah. So Paul, you're watching the game now. By the looks of it, it's been a few chances for both teams.
Yeah, Harry Kane had a chance sort of cleared off the line by Michael Keane, and then Michael Keane went up the other end and took a long free kick down on his chest and volleyed it over the bar. Second minute in, Damari Gray had the ball played into him after a good run from the right wing from Iwobi, and then just curled it just past the top right-hand corner. So I think from the start of the game, I think Everton are the team sort of more in the ascendancy than Spurs. Although Spurs have had a little bit of the ball the last couple of minutes. I think Everton will be the happier team at the 15-minute mark. I think they've had the better chances.
Yeah. So if Tottenham draw this game, they go above Man United. Obviously, if they win the game, they go
above Man United.
Yeah, 2 points clear of Man United as well. I was going to say. Do you think?
Will they go third as well
then? Yeah. No. So goal difference is what's stopping them from being in third at the moment. Tottenham's goal difference is 12. Newcastle's on 22. So unless Tottenham win 10-0, 11.
Unlikely.
It's unlikely.
If Dyche lose 11-0, I think he'll be gone the next day. Right.
Do you think
Conte hasn't left them Conte hasn't left them in a bad position.
No.
And it's only the fact that, again, it might have been the rant that he had in
his... Harry Kane just wide.
It might have been the rant that Conte had in his interview when they drew against Southampton, but it's not like he's done a terrible job.
No, it's what he's been saying in the press that's going to sack. He's coming out slagging everyone off. But
which is kind of fair enough.
The Spurs fans don't like the way that he plays. Ultimately, it's a little bit to do with the results and that they want to be further up the table. But ultimately, it's his boring football that they didn't like. They want to be attacking. They want to be exciting. I think a lot of teams don't mind losing if you're losing because you're on the attack and you're playing well. If you're losing and you're being boring, then fans get annoyed with it. Fans get fed up.
But given
you're paying money,
given the fact like Tottenham are obviously desperate to win a trophy. Obviously, there's all the memes that are going around about them being like serial failures, bottle jobs, and everything else. If you're a Tottenham fan, do you accept winning the trophy playing boring football, or do you just want to see your team attacking teams and playing well, but potentially not winning that trophy?
What
But
group
no,
are you talking about?
ultimately you want to win a trophy, don't you? I think Spurs just want a trophy at the moment. I don't think the trophy matters. I think they just want a trophy.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you will take boring football for a trophy, but what they're getting at the moment is boring football and no trophy.
Yeah. So, I mean, if Pochettino comes back in, bearing in mind he got into the Champions League final, done well, played decent football, etc. Like, can he win something next season? Or is anyone confident that he can do that?
I'm not confident he can do it because he went to PSG and didn't win anything there.
I mean, so if you're a Tottenham fan now, who realistically do you want? So they're obviously going to pick out, the best names in the world, the Zidanes and the Enriques.
That's what they want. They want the next level up from what they've had. They want
then that manager's going to look at Tottenham and think, "Why would I go there?"
Yeah.
Well,
but if you're
ultimately, you can try and drag a manager to your level with a load of money, can't you? But it's whoever Daniel Levy wants to pay that sort of money.
But if you're Zidane, do you go to Tottenham?
Again, I think it's how much money you can spend and what you can promise him. If you can say, I'll give you the money and we'll try and compete, then maybe you do get him there.
Because he does attract, like, just Zidane's name alone attracts world-class players. I don't know.
Well, they won't have to be in the Champions League to get that big name in, but they're going to have to spend the money. And it's how much money do you give them, isn't it? What's a good amount of money to give Tottenham in a transfer window?
I suppose it depends on what. Like, if you're Zidane and you go into Tottenham now, you take a look at the team. What positions do you think Tottenham need to strengthen the most?
Well, any manager that goes into Tottenham now, the first thing they're going to say to Daniel Levy is, if you sell Harry Kane, I'm not coming. Because he's there. You sell Harry Kane, you've already took a step backwards, didn't you? So you want a manager to come in to Tottenham and there's no Harry Kane. I can't see a top manager going, yeah, sound. You get rid of the only bloke who's any good and then I'll come in.
Yeah. Well, I suppose you could also say the same with other players as well. Like, if I'm a manager and I'm going into Tottenham, I want to keep Son. I want to keep Kane.
Yeah, you want to keep your best players, but then you also want the money to shore up the midfield, and they need another centre. I think they need a better centre back, and
probably do a new goalkeeper as well. Lloris is what, 37?
They definitely need a new goalkeeper.
He's got a mistake in him as well, hasn't he, Lloris?
Yeah. Okay, let's flip.
It's hard, isn't it? Because it also depends what manager comes in and what formation and style they go for. Because if you're just going to pick the formation that they've got right now, for me, I think they're crying out for the wing backs. Because I mean, Perisic is not a bad player, but he's not.
It's not a wing back, is it?
No, and then obviously you got Porro on the other side.
Yeah,
and Pedro Porro is it, in which. I don't know. He might be. I haven't seen enough of him to know that. But if you're going to play
Emerson Royale as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like him anyway. But if you're going to play that formation, then you need to get perfect wing backs, don't you, to make it work. But if they get someone else in that just doesn't play that and play the 4 at the back formation, then it changes them because they probably could be all right for defensive, but. I mean, does Potter do a job at Tottenham?
I think Potter does a job at Tottenham, but he'll have the same issue that he's had at Chelsea in that, as we spoke about earlier on, Potter's the kind of person who, give him time, he will develop that team, he'll develop the players, he'll get them playing good football. But do Tottenham want results straight away? Because if they're...
Daniel Levy, Potter is the perfect manager. He finds talent from small leagues, buys them cheaply, and then sells them off at a profit. Daniel Levy will lap that up. He'll have that all day long.
Yeah.
And if they can get top 4 every season with that, he'd keep Potter there for 100 years.
Yeah.
Because all he really cares about is getting top 4, because top 4 is where the money is.
Yeah.
It's just whether they can attract not attract Potter, but convince Potter to go there.
I don't see Potter turning down Tottenham. It's a big club. You could say they're not on par with Chelsea, but at the same time, we could say after what's happened that maybe Chelsea was a step too far for him. So I think Tottenham is. Harry Kane's had a chance, I do believe. But yeah, they're not a huge drastic step down from where Chelsea are. And I think, as Paul was saying, I think when you've got a chairman and a manager that fit well together, it creates a good relationship between them. I think Potter going to Tottenham would be a good move for Potter right now. It just depends on whether or not if Tottenham take him in there with the idea of like this long-term plan, long-term strategy, I think everything could work out well. If they bring Potter in thinking, well, he could get us our first trophy, I don't think it would work out very well.
It depends what you say as well. I mean, Tottenham are above Chelsea, considerably above Chelsea. So is Tottenham not a step down from Chelsea?
I think, well, the problem is going back into the conversation we was having yesterday with Paul about where teams currently are now, and we're talking about teams being in false positions. We expect next season Chelsea are going to come back strong. We expect next season Liverpool are going to go out and spend money and revamp their squad. You know, we expect that the league next season won't be the same as how it's looking this season. So therefore, next season Chelsea, let's say they bring in a world-class manager, he gets them playing well, you would put Chelsea inside the top 4 next season. Would you still put Tottenham inside the top 4 because they'll still have the same team, play the same way? You know, everything's going to be. I don't think we'll look at next season and see Chelsea lingering around mid-table and Tottenham battling for 4th or 3rd. Obviously, if Tottenham make top 4 and they bring in a good manager and some good players, that could change. But Chelsea already have world-class stars. They're just not playing well at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. I don't expect Chelsea to be outside of the top 5 next season because you would assume that they will go out and get a big-name manager and not take a risk on someone who might be okay.
Yeah. So I think that, again, like saying that Tottenham's a step down from Chelsea, it seems unfair to Tottenham. But I don't mean, obviously, it's not a huge step down. It's just, I think the expectation that you have being Chelsea manager, I think what the fans expected from him, the players expected from him, the board expected from him, it was more difficult for him to deliver on that promise in the time frame that they would have given him.
Yeah.
The problem with Chelsea and Chelsea fans and things like that is they want instant success.
Yeah.
The success has to be right there and then, and that's what they've done all the while. When it doesn't come, they then sack a manager, they get a bit of success, and then they wait until he's not doing well again, then they sack another manager, and then they get success. And it's worked for them. But at the moment, it's not working for them. They're down in mid-table, and they brought in a manager who needed time to come in. And then add the fact that there's a takeover and all that other stuff that comes along with it. And a bloke who's now in charge who basically is playing football manager. It's just buying any player and every player possible, and then just expect someone to just put them in the team and make them play football.
And we said it. We said it yesterday, and you touched upon it a little bit earlier on today, Paul, that Chelsea aren't going to make the top 4 now. So what is the point of getting rid of Potter to get someone else in? Well, it's not done great there, and it probably is a step too far for him. But it's just being such a random sacking at this point. Like, just let him do it. If they finish outside of Europe for a season, let him have it, and then let him have a pre-season. Let him have his summer transfer window, and then see what he does.
Look at the season Arsenal having now that they're not in Europe. They're now top of the Premier League because they're not in Europe.
Well, they're not in Europe anymore, but yeah, they were, weren't they?
Yeah, and I think Arsenal's a prime example of what we were talking about as well. Last season, at the start of the season, well, probably the majority of last season, the Arsenal fans didn't want Arteta there anymore. They'd had enough. Yeah. And then the Arsenal board held their ground, kept him in charge, and then look what's happening now. I'm not saying Potter would have done the same thing, but it just shows keeping the manager and giving them a chance to actually do something with the team, bring in the players that they want, get them playing the way that they want them to. You know, it shows as well how important preseason is. Potter hasn't had a preseason with his team. He's having to get them used to his tactics whilst the season's underway. And, you know, I'm not saying it's I don't know what how the tactics are different from what they're used to, or whether it takes a long time for a player to get used to new tactics. But there's got to be that bedding in period for a new manager where you say, okay, you know, we have to give him time because he hasn't had X amount of weeks before the season's kicked off to get the players used to it.
Yeah. Anyone that wanted Arteta sacked shouldn't be allowed to celebrate Arsenal if they win the league.
I actually really liked the appointment of Arteta for Arsenal, because I think Arsenal just needs. I mean, he's obviously learned from Pep, which, you know, is one of the best coaches we're going to get, right? But he's so like articulate with his thoughts and the way that he works. He's very specific. And that's exactly what Arsenal needed, because my assumption would be Arsene Wenger was exactly the same, and that's how they got their success. And have you watched the Arsenal Prime series?
Yeah.
Like, that just goes to show how in depth Arteta is, and he just lives and breathes it. So eventually, he was always going to succeed. But I think winning the league for Arsenal is an overachievement this season. And finishing top four would have been good.
I think this season it would be. I think also as well, when you take in to account the fact that they've lost Jesus to injury, they've had a few other players that have been in and out of the squad with injury, and to keep them the way that Arsenal were playing when they had Jesus up front, they were like on fire at times. And then when he got injured, I think everyone kind of expected there to be a drop off, but if they just haven't, they've sort of kept him going, putting Nketiah up front, and you haven't really noticed it. So I think the way that he's, not only the players that he's brought in, but the way that he's got the team to rally around each other, even when things aren't going their way, I think that's just as impressive as how in-depth and how tactical he is at times. I think that's quite important, to show just how together the squad are. You know,
we got rid of everyone that wasn't moving in the same direction, didn't we?
Yeah.
We're getting rid of Aubameyang and people like that, and anyone who was a bit dead wood who needed to be moved on got moved on. And then he did something with Xhaka and turned him into a completely different player. I don't know whether Xhaka had a twin at home that was coming to Arsenal before.
I mean, look at his stats for Arsenal. He's played 171. This is Arteta, and he's won 100 and lost through 27 and lost 44. Like, they're really good stats for any team. Good stats for a manager when it's his first managerial job, like fully managerial job. So I agree with Paul. I think any Arsenal fan that called for his sacking last season don't deserve to celebrate and winning this season. But
taken out into the streets and beheaded.
So Paul, we'll go over to you. There's Chris Kamara. What's happening? How's the game looking? Who's on top?
Everton. They've just missed another chance. Clear header in the box. Decore heads it over the bar. Heads it miles over the bar as well. He could have had a goal. Could have had a goal on top of that goal, and he still missed. It's Ginger Mourinho on the side of the pitch. But yeah, it's mostly Everton. They're closing down Tottenham really well. Iwobi's playing really well. Yeah. Tottenham. Slow start, like usual with Tottenham. They're not in the game yet.
I think
the action area, 16% in Everton's half, 52% in the middle of the pitch, 32% in Tottenham's half. It's
if you're Dutch, do you start to get worried longer?
I wish I was.
But obviously, the longer the game goes on, knowing that Tottenham are a second half team, do you start? Yeah,
he's got to use while they've got the momentum here. He needs to get a goal. He needs to get a couple of goals and try and give himself something that he can try and defend in the second half.
Yeah.
Tottenham are going to score, and there's no doubt about it. At some point, they're going to get a chance, and it's not often. Harry Kane's missed 2 chances. Like, he don't miss a third.
Don't miss many more than that.
So they need to make the most of the possession that they're having, but they're winning the ball back quite easily as well. They're not.
Who Tottenham?
No, Everton. They're just anytime Tottenham pick up the ball, they're pressing real fast, and then they're looking to break quickly. They're doing what Dyche did when he played Arsenal, where he just said, "Oh, I'm only bothered about 2 ends of the pitch, and I don't really care what goes on in the middle." They're winning the ball back, and they're getting it forward as quickly as they possibly can.
Okay.
When Tottenham have the ball, they seem to let them play it around the back, and then as soon as they cross the halfway line, that's when the trigger seems to be. They then come and nick the ball back. And I don't think Tottenham really know what to do at the moment. They've got the ball now, and they're just knocking it around the back, and then playing a long ball down the wing. And that is it. Pedro, what's his face? Plays with useless ball in from the right wing, and Everton get rid of it, and then Hoofy straight out the other end to try and get on the attack as quickly as possible.
Okay. So going back to talking about Arsenal, and you were saying that Arsenal are probably ahead of schedule if they win the Premier League this season.
Yeah.
Oh, they're miles ahead of schedule if they win the Premier League, aren't they? That can't be something that they were looking at doing this close. That's got to be someone that was down the line. But not being in Europe is a big thing. When you've got a squad that is getting Tuesdays and Wednesdays off, you're buzzing, ain't you?
Yeah. But how do you see, like, what do you see the next steps are for Arsenal? Because obviously everyone's expecting next season Newcastle to go out and spend money. Man City, they're currently brilliant. Whatever happens this season, they'll go out and spend money next season to carry on being brilliant. What's the next step for Arsenal? Like, if they win the league, do you see them challenging for the league again, or do you think they need to just?
They have to, don't they? They can't win the league and then go, oh yeah, but we won it, so we've got a bit of time now where we can do nothing. They've got to then challenge for it. And I'm not saying they're going to win it 2 years in a row, but they've at least got to put a challenge in, and then they've got to stay in the top 4. You have to qualify for the Champions League, and then you have to try and win the Champions League, don't you? That's the natural progression. Is you get to the point where every competition you're in, you've got to be one of the ones who's favourite to win it.
Yeah.
I think Arsenal fans probably just want to get back to what they were, like always in the Champions League, in Europe, in and around 4th or 3rd. I think that's probably acceptable. I think winning the league this season is a massive bonus for them.
Yeah. So I think the one thing that stands out to me is when Liverpool were finishing second to Man City most of the time, and then obviously winning the league. A lot of people that I would watch would say that it's unsustainable from Liverpool because they just can't compete financially. So, and then I kind of see Arsenal.
Winning the league didn't really count, though, did it? Because it was in that season that wasn't really a season.
It counts. But anyway, moving back. I kind of see Arsenal in the same way. They're not as rich as Man City and as Newcastle, so therefore they have to do things the correct way. They have to generate the revenue, probably fund some players by player sales and stuff like that. Do you see Arsenal basically taking the role of Liverpool, where they're gonna do things the more natural, more sustainable way? And if so, do you see that as being a model of how to run the football club that can work in football's current climate?
It's how it's meant to be run, isn't it? You're meant to be run by your means. You're not meant to be able to just pump millions of pounds into it. You're meant to finish as high up the table as possible, which then gives you the most amount of money that you can possibly get, which then means you can bring in a better standard of player.
Yeah.
The whole throwing 500 million a transfer window in, or doing what Chelsea have just done and spending a ridiculous amount isn't really the way it's meant to be, is it? But they've got their ways to do it, so they're always going to be somebody who does it like that.
Yeah.
ultimately you want to do what Man U did back in the day, don't you? And you want a team all built from your youth team. You want your youth players to come through and you don't have to spend any money because you've got an amazing youth team. But people don't do that. It's all about instant success now, isn't it? And you buy the best players you possibly can as quickly as you possibly can because you need to win as much as you can as soon as you start. So it'd be nice if football went back to the way it was and everyone just got given where you finished, you got that money, and that was you spending money for the next season.
Yeah, the problem now with football is that it's not just about football as a sports entertainment. It's a business now. So owners buy places in order to develop the actual surrounding area as well. So if you look at he's a Tottenham chairman, Daniel Levy. For example, like he's built up a surrounding area. He owns the majority of the buildings, the cafes, the schools he's built there. Like he's built an empire around that area. So it's not just a case of a football team wins and a football team gets it. It's more attractive to buy a team that's got a good city and stuff. And I think with
it's easy to do that in places like London.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. But even with Newcastle, like you said yesterday, they're the only team in the city. So if someone's go in and buy it, it's attractive to do it, but you're not going to get someone that's going to buy a Burnley because poor Hull. He's going to want to build an empire around there. Do you know what I mean? It's not where the money is. So
nobody wants to build an empire in Reading.
Exactly, but that's the thing.
I think what we should do one day is organise like a GoFundMe just to take Paul to a Reading game.
meet Paul Ince.
meet Paul Ince. Watch Reading play. Get him a box.
I think he'd try and fight me.
Probably would.
I'd just stand right in the middle of him because that's the only place he can't see.
But do you think then that what's happening with Newcastle and Man City is ruining football?
Well, what's happening with Newcastle and Man City is the Middle East using sports teams to hide their shocking human rights records and make people like them because they own football clubs, and then you don't think about the fact that they like to stone people and all that sort of stuff. And it's it was the exact reason why why the World Cup was in Qatar, is because they're sports washing everything. They're just like, don't worry about our human rights, and now we're gonna stone the gays and all that sort of stuff. We've got a World Cup on.
Yeah, but from a purely footballing sense, do you see it as being a bad thing?
Yeah, it's terrible. You can't look at. I don't think you can look at it as just a purely footballing sense. A terrible country with a ridiculous human rights records owns a football club. You can't just look at it. You can't just go, oh yeah, but it's just a football club. They're horrendous.
I think a lot of people agree with that comment. I agree with the comment. I'm sure most people do, but I think like in looking at
if they want to buy the Blues, I'll forget all about it.
But like looking at it from a purely footballing point of view, obviously,
no, it ruins football. It ruins football. Yeah. Obviously, it's great. It's great for Newcastle. It's great for Man City, but it's rubbish for everybody else.
Yeah.
The only single benefit you can even remotely give is the fact that
Mike Ashley doesn't run a football team anymore.
There's that, but we in England will then potentially see world-class players coming over to the Premier League.
Yeah, we get the benefit of it because we like to watch the Premier League, but
yeah,
I actually sit there thinking, like, ultimately, I'm a Birmingham City fan and I couldn't care less who's in the Premier League at the moment until the Blues go in there. Like, yeah, I enjoy sitting and watching good football, but because the Blues are in the Premier League, if the Bundesliga was the best league in the world, I'd watch that.
But I suppose the other question then becomes, if with the likes of Man City and what Newcastle are more likely to become, do you see it becoming sort of like a La Liga where there's two teams and everyone
No, because the Premier League's so money orientated, there'll be, so someone will buy Newcastle, someone will buy you've got the Qatar looking at Man U. You've already got your man at Chelsea. And all it means is someone else will come in and buy someone else, and someone else will come in and buy someone else. And you're more likely going to end up with us becoming, like the Premier League, becoming the most rich and powerful league, even more so. And it doesn't just affect, like, the other teams in England. It affects, like, the Spanish teams as well, because it'll get to the point where they can't compete in Europe with us. There'll be no good players in the Spanish league because they'll all come to England for the money. And there'll be no good players in Italy, and in the end, it all just becomes everyone wants to come to England because that's where the money is. But the only teams that get any money are the top 20 teams, and the rest are left to suffer.
Yeah.
I think eventually you'll get to the point where you'll have 20 teams run by billionaires, and they'll go, "Let's sack off relegation."
Yeah, you can see, can't you? You can.
Yeah.
Sure. Have their own league. Because is it the MLS where you don't get relegated?
Yeah, there's no relegations in any American sport, is there? But I think that's more to do with the fact that their country's so big that they do their leagues by locations, don't they, and not by who's the best. Because you have an Eastern and Western league, don't you, or something?
Yeah.
But it's a good point. It's a good controversial point that could actually be a reality. Because, I mean, look at the Super League.
Well, yeah, the Super League is what they want, isn't it? That's where they want to go. And I think the only teams that won't join the Super League is the German teams, because they don't run German football for profit or for money. They run it for the enjoyment of their fans. Like you can only own 51% of a club in Germany, and the fans own after.
For them, innit? Because at the end of the day, it's entertainment for people.
Yeah,
it's like
that's what it is.
Yeah, it's like going to watch a band or going to watch a boxing. It's entertainment for you, and if it gets to the point where it just becomes too ridiculous,
it started off as
people
it's a working class game that is no longer working class prices anymore. Like to go and watch the Blues, it's like £30-40. That's Championship football, bottom end Championship football, and I got to pay £30 to go and watch it. It's ridiculous. Like, who at the moment has got to spare 30 quid to be spending to go and watch the Blues, let alone buying a season ticket?
Then you got to travel to get there. Then if you want to get a drink half time or whatever, you look at 60-70 quid all there.
And then you go to the Blues and you've got to sit in a stadium that's falling down, and you've got to watch 9 times out of 10 dreadful football. It's better to go to the away games.
But going back to your original point, I think money will wreck it, but I don't at the same time.
Money's already wrecked it.
Yeah, but I don't think if you suddenly have £200 million spent, it doesn't guarantee you to win the league.
No, I don't think. All it means is average footballers become worth £100 million.
Yeah, that's it. So, I mean, if, for example, if Crystal Palace got bought out now and they had £300 million spent, you still don't see them finishing in the top 6.
No, because obviously, if Crystal Palace had £300 million to spend and then suddenly they started buying world-class stars, other teams like Man City, Newcastle, so on and so forth will recognise that, and then they'll go and spend £300 million on other stars who, you know, as much as, money does talk, but if Crystal Palace got bought out now, they wouldn't be competing with Man City for players, because if you're a player, you pick Man City. Obviously, you got the league that's going to be won pretty much, quite a few times. You've got Champions League football. You've got all that stuff that goes with it. If you went and said, okay, Crystal Palace are after me instead, where you don't have Champions League football, you don't have European football, and you probably aren't going to have European football whilst you're there, it makes it difficult for clubs like Crystal Palace, unless they follow a model that Man City did when they first got bought out. Obviously, you're going to get the 31-year-old player who's coming towards the end of his career. He's been a world-class star. Crystal Palace come in and say, we'll give you £500,000 a week. They'll go and join, like the likes of Robinho did.
I wonder what Joe's doing there.
Well, who's doing that? Oh, Joe. But like, if you're like Newcastle, for example, they're probably ahead of where they thought they would be, because they haven't gone out and bought that world-class player who's, you know, the big name money signing who's going to kickstart a revolution for them. It's probably more of a testament to Eddie Howe that, don't get me wrong, the players that they've bought have done well. And you could probably say that Guimaraes has probably had the biggest impact on the team. Then you've got Isak against Man United. He looked brilliant.
Fair,
some of the things he done.
I think two of the players that have made the biggest difference are players they already had in Joelinton and what's his face, Almiron.
Yeah.
They look like two different players under Eddie Howe.
Yeah.
I'd say behind Bruno Guimaraes as well. I think Kieran Trippier is probably their biggest game changer.
You know what you're getting with Trippier, though, don't you?
My question would be though, do Newcastle get Trippier if they don't get bought out? Because obviously he was playing for Atletico Madrid.
I think there's a realistic chance. Because it's not like they wouldn't have been able to afford him.
It's whether he wants to come back to the Premier League and stuff like that. I don't think they would have got him if it wasn't for the money.
And then obviously Isak cost them, I think it was around £60 million, which Newcastle probably could have afforded that under Mike Ashley, but I don't think Mike Ashley would have spent that.
Mike Ashley's never spending £60 million on one. He'd give you £60 million in a transfer window or a season, but he wouldn't give you £60 million for one player.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the difference, though, isn't it? Mike Ashley wouldn't have spent that.
Yeah. So then,
Mike Ashley was running it like a business, wasn't he? He wasn't running it like a plaything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, it's just about coming to half time now. Paul, how's the game been? Looks like there's not much happened in the last sort of 10, 15 minutes.
No. So Harry Kane had one go over the bar. But Everton will be the happier team with that first half. They've gone in 0-0. They've probably had the better chances. A little bit better on the ball. And Tottenham haven't really done anything to worry about. But they're slow starters, aren't they? And you'll see what happens in the second half.
Yeah. So looking at the stats, Everton have had 6 shots, 1 on target. Tottenham have had 3 shots, 1 on target. But with that, Tottenham have had more possession, 66% compared to 34%. More passing.
Yeah. They were just knocking it around their back four, though, knocking it around the midfield. There was no intent on anything. There was nothing that made you think, oh, they're gonna do something in a minute and score. Whereas Everton were getting the ball and they seemed to have more of a purpose with it. They were like, we're gonna get it and we're gonna get up the other end of the pitch as quickly as possible.
What do you see? Let's say Everton survive this season. What do you see would be what's their job now going forward? Is it just to not have another relegation battle next season? Because obviously they are a big club. They've been in the Premier League since day one. There's been talk throughout, as long as I've been watching the Premier League, about them being a team that can break into the top 6 and the top 4 and everything else. And to see where they are now, obviously a lot of...
Well, they've flirted with relegation a couple of times now, haven't they?
Yeah.
They've been down that bottom end of the table. So it's a rebuild, isn't it? They've got a manager now in that I think is something they can build on. It's whether they've got the hierarchy above him to decide to back him and give him the summer to try and do something, and then see where they are next season. But yeah, I think it's get out of the relegation battle as quickly as possible.
Yeah. What do you think?
I don't think there's many people that would think Everton will go down now. I think if you'd have asked us before, Dyche, then there's a realistic chance, but I think that'll be okay. I think there's far worse teams than Everton in the league at the moment.
And what do you see for them going forward then? Is it just going to be a rebuilding job now?
Of course, yeah, of course. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure if you ask any Everton fan now, they'd be happy with that boring 10th place finish, just to have that little bit of stability again and a bit of confidence. And then after that, it depends how ambitious the owners are. Then if you want to take it to the next level, then you got to start putting money behind it and then seeing what the manager can do. So,
well, there's a lot of talk as well about Everton being the worst run club. Like how do you...
I would contradict that with saying Blues are the worst.
Well, from an Everton point of view, though, it is like a priority from a fan's perspective to get the owners out and to bring someone else in.
Yeah.
The reason they get called the worst run club is because outside of the Premier League, nothing happens according to any from media outlets or any pundits or something like that. The rest of the country doesn't exist outside of the Premier League.
Yeah.
There's 20 teams in England that matter. And then when 3 of them get relegated and 3 go up from the Championship, them teams matter. Anyone outside of the Premier League just gets going to the wayside. Nobody cares. And the EFL don't seem to care about their players, their teams either. They just seem to let people do what they want.
But it's going to take a few years, and I think that they hired the right man in Sean Dyche. Like, if they just want that level of stability again, it's the perfect manager, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think back him and give him the money. I think he takes them up towards the top end of the table. Not saying he wins the league or anything like that, but he definitely takes them in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, to get Burnley into Europe, I'm sure he can do with a better team of Everton.
He got Burnley into Europe on a shoestring budget as well.
Yeah.
Well, with Burnley though, do you think that he deserved to lose his job when he did?
I think I think he should have been given the keys to the city and given that Burnley job till he didn't want it anymore.
Yeah.
So, okay. So going back to the top 4 debate, obviously, Tottenham not playing very well at the moment. Do you think these are the type of games that are going to define whether or not they can make it into the top 4? So if they don't pick up a win today against Everton, do you just see as it? Obviously, it's Newcastle's and Man United's, because I think this is their game in hand right now. And you'd expect, from a Tottenham point of view and from a Tottenham fan point of view, you'd expect Everton to be a game where they'd go to and win. But then looking at the stats, that Everton have had more chances than them, they look the more dangerous team. Is it just is it just now season over for Tottenham pretty much? That they just need to bring in a new manager and just go again next year?
I think they're going to want to get top 4, and then they're going to look at teams like Everton this game now. And if they draw with Everton tonight, they'll be annoyed because these are the teams that they should be beating. If you want top 4, then anyone who's down at the bottom end of the table is the teams that you need to be beating.
Yeah. So
I think anyone underneath 7th or 8th, you should be beating really if you want ambition to be in the top 4.
Yeah, but then looking at their next set of fixtures, like they don't actually have that easy a run. So after this, they're at home to Brighton, who Brighton themselves have got their own ambitions this season.
Big game, yeah.
But Brighton again, it's another team that Tottenham fans would be looking at, going, "Well, I don't care how Brighton are playing, we should beat them."
Yeah. After that, Bournemouth, again another team they should be beating.
Yeah, gotta beat them.
But then they follow that up with Newcastle away, Man United at home, and Liverpool away.
And then there are other ones that when you're looking at top 4, there's only really Man City and probably Liverpool over the years that they go, I'll take a draw here. They should be looking at everyone else going, yeah, we'll beat them. We need to beat them. If we want to be where we want to be in the league, we got to beat them.
The thing that concerns me about Tottenham, though, and I think it would concern me more if I was a Tottenham fan, is...
I was going to say, nothing concerns me about Tottenham. Ultimately, I don't care about Tottenham.
Well, ultimately, yeah, but like, if I was a Tottenham fan, I would be concerned about the fact that you look at how Newcastle played yesterday against Man United. You look at how they took the game to Man United, how they put Man United under pressure, they was attacking from the off. And then you look at how Tottenham are a team that don't get started until the second half. I'd be concerned that if I'm going into games like Newcastle and I'm going into games like Man United, the time it takes for the team to actually start playing football, they could already be out of the game. The way Newcastle played yesterday and the way Tottenham are playing at the moment, if those two teams met, I would expect Newcastle to be done and dusted by half-time.
You've got to think, though, if anyone, who's going to take charge of Tottenham by them 2 games as well, because surely they're not going to stay with this assistant manager for the rest of the season, are they?
I think Chief Scott is going to be until the end of the season, I
mean, if that is the case, then it's risk.
Well, I thought it was going to be Ryan Mason, because I thought he was going to take over until the end of the season.
Yeah, like last time.
I suppose it depends on who's available. Like I know that, or from what I've heard, they've made an inquiry about Nagelsmann. If Chelsea do get him, then they're going to have to look for a plan B. Like I suppose it depends on what manager available. Like yeah, you could say Potter. Don't know what's happened to Ben. But I could probably see them sticking with their assistant manager for the time being as well. I think.
Yeah, I think he gets it to the end of the season.
Yeah, then I think in the summer, then take a look at who's available, who they want to sign. So obviously, they can't just keep on chopping and changing managers because they have done it quite frequently as well recently. When you look at since Mourinho, they had was it Nagelsmann? Not Nagelsmann. The former Wolves guy Nuno Espirito Santos.
Yeah.
He didn't do very well. Sorry, if you go back to Pochettino, when they got rid of Pochettino, Mourinho was there for not very long. Santos wasn't there for very long. Conte now has not been there for very long. I think that they should be looking to get a manager now who they're thinking about keeping for a longer period of time. Obviously, you can't just have someone come in and then you're looking to get rid of him in the next 6 months to a year and then replace him again because you just end up becoming Chelsea-like. Chelsea version.
But yeah, they're never going to win anything if they're just sacking everyone.
Yeah.
They've got I believe with anyone that you bring a manager in, then you've got to give them the chance. You've got to give them time. And I think time is more than just half a season or one season. I think time is a couple of seasons to try and do something.
Yeah. Do you think that they got rid of? I know obviously Conte was more to do with his media appearances and the outbursts and stuff like that. Do you think if it wasn't for him doing that, they stick with him anyway?
I think he at least would have got to the end of the season, and then they would have looked at it from there. But yeah, once your manager starts coming out and shouting and screaming about, well, he was basically just saying Spurs are Spursy, weren't he? Just saying they've never won anything, and you've had all these managers and you still don't win anything. It's not the manager's fault. Well, as soon as you come out and start doing that, then yeah, but you're going to get yourself, don't you?
Well, I think so obviously if you're Tottenham, if you're a Tottenham fan, if you're a Tottenham player, if you're the Tottenham board, what he said, you don't like it because you obviously think that he shouldn't be saying that stuff to the press and to the world. If you're an outsider looking in, I don't necessarily think what he said was that bad. I think what he said was actually quite true. He can't go there and work miracles.
Yeah, what he said is true, but that just hurts more, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think that maybe there is some expectation, maybe some sections of the Tottenham fans do need to curb their expectations and realise that they're not. As a Liverpool fan, we have to have the same sort of realism to ourselves as well, whereby we have to go. We can't keep up with these top teams that are going to go and win trophies going forward, and Tottenham are the same.
I think every club has got that fan. Like you get down the Blues, you get fans that expect us to be pushing for playoffs and pushing back towards the top end of the table. And when we don't do that, they scream for managers to be sacked. You lose 2 games and they want a manager sacked, and you just sit there thinking, I don't know what you expect, I don't know what you want.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen. And I think every club's got that. You've got fans like that from all over the world that just think that their team should be the best team in the world.
I think that there's a thing with probably obviously more so Premier League clubs than going down into the Championship and lower. But I think there's a lot of the fan base that's jumping in now is relatively new. Because I was looking, obviously supporting Liverpool. You sort of look on Twitter and you follow what other people are doing and the comments that people are making, and people are saying sack Klopp. And it's like anybody who knows where Liverpool were before Klopp came in and where Liverpool are now, you don't sack Klopp. You ask Klopp what he wants to do, and if he says he wants to stay on, then you just say, okay, fair enough. And I think
you've got to give him. You gave him a chance to rebuild, and he rebuilt into a team that won the Premier League. So then you've got to give him the chance to rebuild again. Yeah. If he then doesn't rebuild into a team that pushes for the Premier League again, then you look at where you are in that situation. But he's done more than earned his chance to rebuild a team and have another go at it.
Yeah, and it's also not the first time that Liverpool had an off season. Like there was a couple of years ago when the Alisson header against West Brom, and we were struggling to make top four, and it was only for a run at the end of the season that we got there. It's not uncommon for a Liverpool team to follow up a brilliant season with a below par season. So I think whatever happens with them now, you kind of expect next season to be a lot better. And it's like, okay, me personally, I can say, okay, Liverpool deserve an off season this season. Let's see what we do in the summer with Klopp. Let him rebuild the team now and go and see what he can do next. And then if next season's as bad as this one, then maybe you can start asking questions. And I think,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but I think with Tottenham, I think they have it's probably not all of their fan base, and it'd be interesting to see what the majority of them do actually think about Conte and about what happened with them. But the fact that they're not in the top four, they wasn't in the top four, they didn't win a trophy, there was all this stuff, and people just started jumping on the back of the Tottenham team. I understand what you were saying about them not playing well. Then it comes down to what would you rather them not play well and win a trophy, or play good football? And I understand what you're saying, they haven't won a trophy, but would they have made top four?
Ultimately winning trophies and getting top four is what Spurs fans want. But if you're not winning, if you're playing well and you're watching good football, you can go, we might not be winning a trophy, but we're top end of the table and we're playing well.
Yeah.
If you're then playing rubbish and you're still not winning trophies, that's at the point where you go, hold on a minute, we're watching a load of rubbish and we're not winning anything. We need something different.
Yeah. So one of the things that I was going to talk about, I'll ask you because I think it'll be a good debate. When you look at a team like Brighton, for example, how they've progressed up the table, they've improved season upon season. What do you define success as being for Brighton over the next sort of 5 to 10 years? So obviously there was a period of time, as you said earlier on, where you would get into Europe, that opens up a better class of players to you. You then consistently get in Europe, you then push for the Champions League, again, bringing in better players.
I think with any team, it's progression. So if you're not Man City and you're not Liverpool and you're not challenging for the title, you've just got to do better than last season. So success is measured by if you finished 17th or just outside the relegation zone last season, 16th, then you've got to finish 15th. Then you've got to look to consolidate yourself into mid-table. And then once you've done that, you've got to look at going, well, hold on a minute, we're mid-table. Let's win a cup. Let's win an FA Cup. Let's win a League Cup. Let's try and get into that Europa Conference League. And then if you get there, then you've got to start thinking, well, let's win this then. Let's win the Conference League, and let's look at getting into proper Europe. And it's all about progression, isn't it? It's slowly getting better and better. I think that's what Brighton have done. Brighton came into the league, stayed away from relegation, added a few decent players, moved themselves further up the league, and now looking at pushing into a European place.
Yeah. Then, where is there a cut-off point for them? Because obviously, financially, they're not going to be able to compete with probably the majority of teams that are making up the top four.
But you got to look at if they can get 7th and 8th every season, and then they start bringing in players that were Europa League players, that they've got to start looking at trying to break that top 4, top 5. Otherwise, you just go backwards. You're not gonna. If you're not going forwards, you go backwards. It gets stale.
Yeah.
If they just finish in the same position every year, and they're happy with that, it won't be long until they go, oh, well, actually, we're now finishing 9th. Hold on, we're 12th. We'll pull back right into this relegation battle.
Yeah.
And I think that's a little bit what Leicester have done. I think Leicester they built a decent side. They won the Premier League and they used momentum to push themselves up to the top of the table. They flirted with 4th and 5th place for a little bit. Didn't strengthen, didn't bring in any players. Thought, well, actually, we've got a decent amount of players here. We don't really need to bring in for what we're going to do. We don't need to bring in any more. Next thing you know, they're old and they're leaving, and then they're second from bottom.
Yeah, but as you said, they flirted with 4th place and 4th and 5th place. Is the top 4 just that difficult to break into?
I think the top 4 is like a whole different league, isn't it?
Yeah, they're like a league on their own in many respects.
Yeah. And then I think there's 4 places that, was it 6 teams want to get into.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, you've got your sort of mid-table teams that are trying to get that Europa Conference League place. And then under that, you've got your relegation fight.
So, like, for a team like Brighton, obviously they want to someday realistically start looking at Europe and getting into the Champions League spots. But
well, I think a successful season this season is Europe, and if they get into Europe, they've done a good job.
Yeah. But then on the opposite side of the coin, let's say for the teams that are about to go down, so let's say Southampton is at the bottom of the league at the moment. Do you think that if they go down, it could potentially be a situation where they're not coming back up, or do you just see them rebounding back up again? Because they do have a decent team.
Yeah, but they go down and Ward-Prowse is gone. He goes straight away. He's not playing Champions League football because he wants to be in the England team. So their best player's gone straight away. And then Shay Adams, he probably goes to a team that's just been promoted. And then there's a lot of players there that probably join promotion sides, and they're stuck with their bare minimum of what they've got, and then it's who they can bring in, because they're going to be top dogs in the Championship, so they're going to bring in the best of what the Championship have got to offer.
Yeah,
but it's whether they can then use that to do what Burnley have done and try and get themselves back up.
With what you were saying earlier on about how you have the Premier League and then you have everybody else, and how it's difficult. Like if you're outside of the Premier League, you're kind of left to one side to kind of rot by yourself. How difficult is it for a team that to get promoted and stay in the Premier League with the teams that are in there?
Getting out of the Premier League I think, is the hardest thing to do in English football. Getting into the Premier League, getting out of the Championship is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
And then staying there, it's all about everything comes down to whether you can spend the money. If you've got the money to spend. If you can't, because the gulf between a top Championship side and the low end of the Premier League is massive. There's players that are absolute ballers in the top end of the Championship that can't cut it at the bottom end of the Premiership.
Yeah.
And if you can't bring in players that can do it in the Premier League, they won't survive. You might get the odd team that causes a surprise and they finish mid-table, but they're then normally relegated the second season.
Yeah. You find it a lot with some teams as well, that when they get into the because it used to be the case of when you get into the Premier League, you sort of say 3 seasons and then you're a Premier League club. So you aim for survival for the first 3, and then your 4th seasons where you're then going to try and work your way up the table. And you've seen it in the past with teams like Ipswich, where they have got as high up as like 6th in the league, and the next season they're relegated because, like, yeah, you can spend the money, but if you don't achieve, then it hurts these clubs financially as well, because they obviously gamble. Like, look at Leeds in the past when they gambled on making Champions League and ended up going bankrupt.
Portsmouth did it as well. Portsmouth, they gambled on staying in the Premier League, got relegated, and they're League One now.
Yeah.
So it happens. I think Forest, it weren't too long ago, Forest were League One, then have Premier League again.
Well, Forest is a team that, I think it's interesting what they've done in terms of the amount of players that they've brought in, but you have to worry for them as a club if they don't stay up. The amount of money they must have spent, the amount of players they must have on big wages.
I can only imagine that a lot of them players have got some sort of release clauses when they'll go down and they'll have some sort of cheap release clauses where teams can come and buy them out. But who wants to buy a load of players that didn't do what they were meant to do? in the Premier League. There's going to be a lot of players there that they ain't going to be able to move on, and they're going to be on Premier League wages.
Yeah, and I just think it's going to be weird. If they go down, I can see them being probably not to the same extent as Portsmouth, but I can see them being another Portsmouth in that with the amount of money that and the amount of players that they'll need to shed to balance the books, it's going to be, you could be talking about the same amount of time it took for them to get back into the Premier League this time until the next time they're in there.
If they don't get promoted straight away, if they go down and then don't come straight back up, they're in trouble.
Yeah. And then looking at it from the opposite side of the coin, Burnley, they're obviously odds on now to go up. Do you see them surviving in the Premier League next season?
I think a couple of they look really good and they play really good football. So I think a couple of signings and they give themselves a real good chance to stay up. It's just whether they can bring the right players in.
Yeah.
Obviously, they drew Man City in the FA Cup, and you saw they were doing all right until Man City then went, yeah, we're bored of this now. We're gonna stick 4 goals past you.
I think any team playing against Man City, it's not about how you play. It's a lot about how Man City play. If they're in the mood on that day, then the scoreline could be anything, and it doesn't matter what team you are. It's just about how Man City want to play. If they're in the mood, you could be in the best form of your life, and they could still put 4 or 5 past you.
Yeah, I think that Man City at the moment, I think, are the best, probably one of the best teams in the world, if not the best team in the world.
I'd say so, but then I suppose it opens up another question of, can they be considered the best team in the world until they win a Champions League?
Well, I think you look at it on form, don't you? I think currently on form, I can't see a Man City at their best. I don't know who can beat them. I know they haven't won a Champions League, but I look at when they're at their very best, and I just think who's stopping that? Who's doing it? Because I can't think of a team that can.
Well, like now, obviously, let's use Guardiola as an example. Everyone looks at his Barcelona team and as that being like the pinnacle of the best football team in the world ever. Do Man City as they currently are? Do you think they deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as that Barcelona team, or do you think they need to add the Champions League to be able to be considered?
No, I think they probably need to win a Champions League, but it's hard to compare them when you can say, wow, you could play them against each other, and there's a good chance the Man City team that you've got now wins.
Yeah,
but if they don't win a Champions League, then it's hard to go, well, they were the best team ever. But if they won a Champions League, then you could go, well, actually, look at them. They're amazing. They're a great side.
I think they need that Champions League. I think it's the one thing that's missing from them to be truly recognised as one of the best teams we've ever seen.
I think if they win a Champions League, there's a good chance they go and win it another 5 times.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as they win one, I feel like the pressure will be off, and they'll end up dominating.
I think that's been part of their problem as well. When you look at the final they had against Chelsea, everyone expected Man City to win that. I think I actually predicted Chelsea to win it, but on paper, you'd say Man City were the better team going into that final. But I think that they just got beat by the pressure that they put on themselves to win it. It's the one thing that they're desperate for.
Pep likes to mess about with his teams, don't he? And you sit there and just think, put your best players on the pitch.
I think did he not start with a striker in that game or something?
I think it was, yeah. I don't think he got a recognised striker on the pitch. But I think it was the season, wasn't it? The season where they basically played the whole season with no striker, didn't they?
Yeah.
And they got that, is it Ferran Torres that they sold to Barca?
Yeah.
I think they've got him, haven't they? Or they just sold him. Or
the one thing that always makes me laugh is the amount of players that want to go and join Barcelona still. I think they're saying now that Bernardo Silva's leaving or wants to leave to go and join Barcelona.
It's a boyhood dream for a lot of players, isn't it? Especially the players from the continent and things like that.
But it's like, why would you want to go and play for Barcelona? You don't know if you're going to get paid or not.
It's just to be able to go, I've played with Barcelona. It's like growing up in this country, I think you've got kids that like would 100% go to Man United, even though they're no longer the Man United that they used to be. They'd go to Man United because they're signing for Man United. I think someone's about to get sent off in the Everton game.
What's happened?
By the looks of it, Decore's hit Harry Kane in the face, but I don't know how much of it is like a bad hit in the face or Harry Kane's making a meal of it.
Well, just to whilst we wait for that to happen, second half has started much the way that the first half. Oh, yep, Decore's been sent off.
Yeah, it hasn't happened yet. I'm old.
Well, that's bad news for Everton. The second half had started much the way the first half ended. Everton back on top, 8 shots and 2 on target. Only 4 shots for Tottenham, but that sending off now really changes the game.
Especially Decore, he's a top player for them.
So,
yeah, Harry Kane's and Decore have gone into had a bit of afters, and then Decore's hit him in the face, pushed his hand in his face.
In your opinion,
Harry
sending
Kane,
off?
He's pushed away, put his hand in his face. It's hard to argue.
Yeah.
They've both gone in for the ball, had a bit of a grab at each other, and then Decore, he pushed him in the face, and Harry Kane's gone down like he stabbed him.
So now
it's hard to argue. He's put his hands in his face. It's a red card, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, so assuming that's going to change the game now, change the complexion, you'd think that Everton will probably be more concerned with not losing.
I think.
If you're Dyche now, you go mad at him for that, don't you?
He's currently having a go at everyone, but I think he's having a word with the fourth official and saying something to Harry Kane, and it's one of them silly ones where he's pushed him in the face, and Harry Kane's with the most of it. But if you put your hands in the face of somebody else, you're asking to be sent off, aren't you?
Yeah, but if you're Dyche, if you look back at that now and you see what happened, like you'd go mental at Decore.
Yeah, in the press, he's gonna be like, "Oh, it's soft. It shouldn't have happened." But then in the changing room, he's gonna turn around to Decore and just go, "What are you thinking? Why are you putting your hands up there for?"
Yeah. Because now, potentially, given how the game started, that could... We were saying...
Yeah, he could have just given the game to Tottenham. Tottenham could go on to win this.
And given how we were saying as well about Tottenham being a second-half team, something like that could really...
Yeah, it sparks it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Gives them that motivation as well, gives them that push to say, okay, well, we can go out and win this now, lads. So
I don't think he's made any changes yet. I think he's just gonna stick with the midfield for now.
So what change would you make? Obviously, you could probably bring on a more defensive-minded midfielder, but
I think they'd already got to Decore and Onana, hadn't they? So they were pretty defensive feeling the way that they've got him in anyway. So I think
he just sticks with a 4-4-1.
Bring him in tighter, yeah. Potentially put Iwobi into where Decore was, and just sort of play it from there. But by the looks of it, Iwobi's still out on the one wing. He's dropping back into sort of right wing back when they're defending. He's sort of got. Wow, the way it looks now, it's a flat back 6.
I mean, if you don't want to lose the
game. Yeah. But yeah, he seems to have got his four defenders sort of in tight, with Iwobi and McNeil dropping in into the right and left back role.
I think as much as, obviously, I don't like Everton, I do like Dyche, and I think that when players make decisions like that, given the situation that Everton are in, it just hurts them even more. Like even if like you could argue that it's a soft decision or whatever else, but players know not to put players in their hands in other players' faces.
Yeah, it's a soft decision. It's silly, but the players made a silly mistake. He shouldn't be giving Harry Kane a chance to roll around the floor and get him sent off. So
you know what's going to happen these days. Like, players will go down and roll around even if you don't even touch them. So to give them a reason to roll around, you just ask him for trouble.
Yeah, but the way he's got it lined up now, he's got sort of 6 defenders. Damari Gray's dropped down from striker, and he's got Onana, Iwobi, and Damari Gray in like a 3, and then he's 6 defenders beyond that, and no one really up top. And that's just Tottenham just sort of looking to get the ball into the box.
So Kane also got a yellow card for pushing Decore.
Yeah, they had a bit of a grab at each other, pulling at each other's tops.
So we'll see.
He's breaking here. No, he's absolutely spanning it wide. Cheesy peeps.
What do you think's gone wrong for Everton this year? Like, I know they've flirted with relegation for the last few seasons, but like they don't, on paper, they don't have a terrible squad.
The fact that Calvert-Lewin is made of like plasticine, so he just breaks any time he steps foot on the football pitch. No real investment, no real board to speak of, and then bad managerial. Look, I'm not saying Lampard's a bad manager, but he just wasn't what I don't think he was what Everton needed. And I think ultimately just a load of bad decisions from the board.
Yeah. So
I think when the fans and the board fall out, or you've got a toxic board that don't really put anything into the team or don't seem to be interested in what goes on the pitch and things like that, I think it sort of spirals down into the players and stuff, and I think you end up with the whole club just being toxic.
Yeah, I think as well, if you're a player and you see someone like Richarlison getting sold for 60 million, you're thinking
you've got to replace him though.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Is you've got 60 million to spend to go and buy someone to replace him, and they didn't.
Yeah, I mean they ended up Neil Mopay, and it's like what kind of if you're a player, you want to see that your board and the club is showing ambition and they're trying to push to get higher up the table. You see them make £60 million or sell Richarlison for £60 million. You expect that money to be reinvested, and they don't. It kind of tells you that the board doesn't have their ambition doesn't match what your ambition matches.
And letting Gordon go.
Yeah, how much did he sell for in the end?
Was it 40 or something like 40 million? Might not have even been that much, but you look at he's a young player who's up and coming in your team, and you let him leave on deadline day. Like you don't even give yourself a chance to replace him.
45 million he ended up going for.
And also
to Tottenham.
Tottenham, yeah.
Nope. So looks like it could be Tottenham's game. Let's wait and see what happens. What happened?
Yeah. It's that the ball's played into the box long. It's been headed down by the winger, and I don't know who that is. Romero has just nicked in front of Keane, knocked the ball away, and Keane's just took him out. It's a penalty all day long. Now Romero's got to roll around the floor for 30 minutes before we can take the penalty.
Well, they've already got one player sent off. They might as well try for a second. I think diving and players rolling around is one of the things that I hate about football the most these days.
Yeah, it's not something I enjoy.
Like it's just it's far too frequent and far too common nowadays. It's like all the time. Every game you watch, the players roll around, and when you watch the replay, you think like that was barely touched / wasn't touched in some occasions.
Yeah, it's just trying to get the other player booked and sent off and things like that, isn't it?
I mean, Liverpool were guilty of it against Man City. I think Gakpo took a dive.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that the referee didn't bring out a yellow card for that.
I think more players need to be booked for it.
They should
Harry
start
Kane's with the ball on the spot.
I think that's one of the things that like football fans have issues with when it comes to the officials, like the referees and so on. It's like when a player like takes a dive, it should be a yellow card. But then some players get booked for it, some players don't get booked for it. It's like
it's consistency with refs. I just want consistency. I don't just ref every game the same.
Yeah.
Goal, bottom left, Harry Kane scores.
So 1-0 to Tottenham. Harry Kane penalty.
68 minutes gone.
What do you do if you're Everton now? Do you go for it, or do you think like
you might as well go for it, because you might as well lose 3 or 4. If you're going to lose, you might as well lose trying to get a win or trying to get a draw.
But then with goal difference, let's have a look. Everton are on. I mean, goal difference. So Leeds United are on -12 in terms of their goal difference. Leicester are on -10. Everton at the moment will be on -19. So goal difference could be a factor come the end of the season. I think that goal. I'm just waiting for the league table to update. I've got a feeling that goal's going to put them in the relegation zone. So when you look at the league table, you can quite clearly see what Everton's problem is. They've conceded 40 goals, but then they've only scored 22. And then you look down the table, Leicester have scored 39, Leeds have scored 36. They need a goal scorer.
Yeah, they've had no one all season, and they should have looked at Calvert-Lewin and seen his injuries and just thought, we need to go and buy a striker. And then if you sell Richarlison, it's just ridiculous that you would let him go and not bring in somebody else to replace him.
I think that was like, you look at football teams and okay, clubs sometimes need to sell players in order to balance the books and to everything that comes with that. But then you'd expect a club, if you're going to sell a striker, knowing how injury prone your other striker is, and then not bring in a quality striker, like you're asking for trouble at the end of the day. So it doesn't matter, like you could be defensively sound, but if you're not scoring goals, you're not going anywhere in the league.
Yeah, it's all about goals. You've got to score goals. But yeah, I can see Everton losing this now. Tottenham should just be looking to put this game to bed, getting the ball. Everton have got the ball. They seem to be knocking it around.
Everton have got the ball.
Yeah, they're currently keeping possession of it, looking for some space and trying. Tottenham seems to have dropped deep. I don't know
why. Maybe Tottenham are scared of losing.
Well, yeah, it seems it. Everton have got a free kick now.
I think both teams are probably a bit low on confidence at the moment. Everything that's happening, obviously, with Everton, like it's understandable their players are low on confidence. So in a relegation battle, if things haven't gone their way, everything that's happened off the pitch as well as on the pitch. Then you look at Tottenham, and all the criticism that they've been taking recently. Then what's happened with Conte, the stuff that he came out and said. Because he also came out and criticised Richarlison, didn't he?
Yeah.
It's like if there's a surefire way to break your team's confidence, it's to go to the press and start slagging them off.
Yeah. I don't know what he was thinking. Like, he must have just thought, I want out, I want to leave. I'm going to go out and slag them all off and get the sack.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know what he was thinking. But yeah, so Everton are now losing 1-0 against Tottenham. A penalty scored by Harry Kane, won by Romero. Everton had a player sent off, Decore, for pushing Harry Kane in the face. So let's going to see if this league table is updated now. So yeah, that now pushes Tottenham up to 3rd. And Man U now drop down to 5th. Everton drop into the relegation zone, so Everton drop down to 18th. I think the worrying thing for Everton is that they dropped down to 18th and they've played a game more than everyone else.
Yeah, I think Tottenham are trying to give him a goal here as well. Keeper saves it. They're just messing about within their own box, or just messing about, letting the Everton players come and close them down. Hugo Lloris with a terrible ball into the defender, who's then played it out towards Eric Dyer. They're just literally messing about.
Yeah, that's football nowadays. It's gone a bit crazy.
And then they're just nearly done it again. They're just like knocking it around across the box and stuff. The last 5 minutes, possession has been 83% to Everton in the last 5 minutes. The possession has.
Well, has it been meaningful possession?
Not particularly. I think Tottenham have dropped a bit deeper. Let Everton have the ball.
From Tottenham's point of view, is it just a case of they've scored a goal now, they've got their noses in front, just consolidate for the next 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah, soak up a bit of pressure. Let Everton get a bit worn out, and then try and catch them again. Who's this coming on now? Sims.
So they're actually bringing on a striker, which is quite it's a positive move anyway from Everton's point of view.
I think they're bringing on that what's his face as well, the Ukrainian.
I
can't remember what it's called.
I can tell you, it's I've actually forgot his name. You know when your mind goes blank. Mikalenko.
I think that's him. Yeah, I didn't have his name to begin with.
Is he a defender?
It's midfielder, isn't he?
Ah, okay.
Damari Gray's looked dangerous, to be fair. Oh, tipped over.
Who? Everton attack?
Yeah, Everton picked up the ball on the edge of the box. Damari Gray laid it off to, I don't know who it is. And then he's forced to save. It's, to be fair, it's a pretty simple save.
I think also if you're Everton, you would be worried, or at least I'd be worried if I was an Everton fan, that if you go down, the amount of players that you lose, it then becomes, more of a challenge to get back up. Like just looking at their line.
That's everyone's problem though when they go down. It's the players that you lose all your good players, don't you?
Yeah, but if I'm Everton, they probably lose the majority of their starting lineup today.
Yeah,
I could probably see
from the corner. They've just Kane at the back post as headed it straight into the arms of Hugo Lloris. Yeah, deep corner. He gets up over Harry Winks, heads it straight into the hands of Lloris.
So yeah, I could probably see Seamus Coleman staying.
Yeah, he's nearly retired though, and he's 36, 37, something like that.
And then outside of him, I could probably see the majority of their team leaving afterwards.
Yeah, Coleman's come off for Mikalenko, I think. I don't know who's coming off for Sims.
So Sims is a striker, so either you bring him on for a winger and put Gray out wide.
Gray and Coleman have gone off.
Yeah, or Gray would be the other choice.
Yeah, so he's going to go up top. I think Tottenham have made a change as well.
I mean, in terms of like performances, how do Tottenham look? Like, do they look like a team that can make top 4 this season, or is it?
It's one of them ones where they if they can get a result, it's one of them ones where you go, well, they didn't play particularly well, and they still managed to get a result.
Yeah.
They've just took off that is it Lenglet?
Lenglet, yeah.
And brought on what's his face?
Davinson Sanchez.
Yeah.
So they're shoring up their defence. So they got obviously gearing for a Everton
Lenglet had been booked as well, so he'd been booked and then he gave a foul away, so he was walking a fine line, so I think they took him off as a precaution not to get him sent off.
Yeah.
Mikalenko's first job was to pick up the ball and fall over.
Oh, it's one way to get your kit dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, looking at the stats though, since the penalty, Tottenham haven't had a shot.
No, they've been happy just to let Everton have the ball and not really do anything with it. They've got it in their own half now. Spurs haven't they? Just knocking it about, looking for a bit of space. The one thing they keep doing is they keep sort of playing it around the back, looking to try and get it into the midfield, but mostly looking to switch the play to one of the wingers. They keep playing the long diagonals. Yeah, you get another one now, long diagonal to Perisic out on the wing. I think that's what the way that they're building. They just seem to 1-2 touches, knock it about, and look for a big diagonal.
I think if you're Tottenham now, like your idea is that Everton are going to try and mount some sort of a comeback. Obviously, it's at Everton, so they're going to want to throw everything at the game and like everything in the kitchen sink. So from them, they just need to A, keep the ball off Everton, and B, make Everton work to tire them out and stop any potential fight back that they've got. Just kill off the game from there. I mean, by the looks of things, they're probably looking for counter attack.
Well, it's something they've done all game. That they just seem to be knocking the ball about, and then the wingers seem to be going really wide, as close to the touchline as possible, and then they ping off a big diagonal towards one of them. And Everton have mostly dealt with it for most of the game. Just seems to let the wingers have it out on that out wide and get rid of the ball as it's crossed in. There's not been much of a threat from it, but Tottenham just keep trying it.
So, from Everton's point of view,
great moments there. He's picking up the ball and just running through people like they're not there.
Well, yeah, I've just noticed that the shots that Everton have gone from 10 to 13. So they're trying it. Romero's been booked as well.
Yeah, there's been nothing. No, the shots they're having though, they're being blocked from distance. They're not.
Okay.
There's nothing that's really. No clear cut chances. It's all going to be scrappy.
I think if you're Everton, if you're an Everton fan, player, manager, coaching staff, the thing that would be frustrating the most, like for me, is Tottenham winning this game is completely Everton's fault. It's a stupid decision to get a player sent off and then giving away a penalty to basically give Tottenham the lead. It's stupid mistakes where you're costing yourself games.
Everton are committing men forward now as well. They're going for it. Last 10 minutes, they're going to. Pickford just picked up the ball outside of his own area, just lumped one forward.
That's what it'll be now, isn't it? It'll be getting as many balls into the box as possible, and then Tottenham, you'll see their wing backs Perisic and Porro pushing, dropping deeper and deeper to make a back five and to try and stop it from happening.
I don't think they've called for an handball there as well. It's never an handball in a million years. Porro got his arms tucked in.
I think the ref should give it just for fun.
Yeah. Tottenham are making a change. You've got Son going off and Lucas Moura coming on.
I mean, that's a positive change, to be fair. Lucas Moura is an attacking player. It's the pace, though, isn't it? It's they know what Everton are going to do.
He's good with the ball at his feet, and he's good running at players. So they're going to look to get him running at a defence, a tired defence at that. But Everton, to be fair to them, they're not looking worried. They're not looking nervous. They haven't really changed the game plan from what he was to the start. They're just sort of going the way it is. High pressing, quick to get the ball forward.
I think from Everton's point of view, if they do go on to lose this game, because obviously one thing that they always seem to do whenever you lose a game is look for the positives in it. And the positives that you'd say for Everton is that they have been the more dominant team. They've had more chances, and the goal that they conceded was their own fault. You know, it was a stupid.
If this is how they're going to play for the rest of the season, I can see them picking up points from somewhere.
Then if you're Tottenham, do you go away saying job done?
Well, that's it. A win's a win.
Yeah.
You can be a little bit annoyed about he's played, but ultimately a win's a win. Everton are making some more changes now as well. Bringing on Tom Davies. I don't know who that lad is. I think he's a youth player.
Can't say I'm a big fan of Tom Davies.
No. Oh, no, it's what's his face from that they bought from Man U, Ghana.
Okay.
Onana and a guy have gone off.
Okay, so completely changing their midfield now.
Davies and Ghana on.
So
yeah, I'm not a big fan. I don't think Tom Davies brings much. That Ghana, wasn't he? It was Forest last season.
So James Garner, let's have a look at him. So James Garner, is he on loan or is he the? He was on. It was at Forest, and then he went to Watford on loan, and now he's signed for Everton.
Yeah, it was decent for Forest in the Championship, I think.
If I remember correctly, Man U, a lot of Man U fans actually liked Garner. Would have liked to have seen him get more of a chance, but it looks like obviously he's gone to Everton. But then again, it's kind of systematic of Everton's problems, isn't it? You bring in a Man United youngster who's been at Nottingham Forest and Watford. Like, what are you really?
I don't think they've really gave him a chance either, have they?
No.
Yeah, since the goal, Everton have had 4 shots, 3 on target. Tottenham have had 1 shot, none on target. Everton have touched the ball 4 times in the Tottenham box. Tottenham have touched the ball once.
I think what's interesting is the way that they've lined up the exact same way that they would have done under Conte. Is it just for them just carrying on?
It's Conte's assistant, and it's you weren't going to get much of a change.
I suppose as well, you want to just keep consistency, don't you? They've been playing this way all season, just keep it going now until the end of the season, see what happens. I mean, obviously it's working for them because that moves them up to 3rd in the league now.
Yeah, and I don't think it's not bad, is it? 3rd? I don't think.
I think
especially
if you're Tottenham, you take 3rd.
Especially when they've been moaning how they've played all season.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show how tight that top 4 battle actually is. Like, you've got Tottenham in 3rd on 52, Newcastle and Man U 4th and 5th respectively on 50, and then Brighton on 43, but they do have a game in hand. Brentford on 43 and Liverpool on 42. I mean, I suppose actually, if you're going to consider Liverpool, then Villa on 41. It's actually the tables, the way the tables lined up this season is actually quite strange. Like, obviously, the top 2 are running away with it, so you look at sort of that, and then from 3rd, like if you go from Liverpool 42, Villa 41, Fulham 39, Chelsea 38, and then there's the 8-point gap from Chelsea to Palace, and then going down from Palace to the bottom, they're all quite close.
Massive, yeah. We've got Everton have got a free kick played into the box, absolutely no one. It's a half decent ball in, there's nobody on the end of it, straight gone out for a goal kick.
Yeah, so looking at the stats, I think Everton still look the more dominant side, which is credit to them after having a player sent off. Spurs, since the penalty, they've had 1 shot.
That happens a lot sometimes, though, don't it? The team with the player sent off, they work that a little bit harder and make up for it.
Yeah,
and end up being the team that end up playing well.
You have that weird effect, don't you? It's like the team with 10 men always seems to play better than the team with 11 men.
They have to try harder, don't they, to make up for that missing player. And then the only thing that normally happens is the team with the extra player ends up catching them out.
Unless you play Football Manager.
I don't think Spurs are looking to catch them out. I think Spurs are happy to just soak up the pressure. They're not really pressing anyone. They're not.
With Everton's chances, though, can you see them getting back into it? Or obviously you said that a lot of it's just block shots and long-range efforts. Are they actually creating anything?
I think if they make the most of a free kick or a corner, then they're potentially, yeah. I think Tottenham needs to be looking at. Oh, we've had a man sent off.
Oh, another one.
Lucas Moura.
Oh, Lucas Moura has just come on and he's just been sent off.
Yeah, he just dived in on Michael Keane. Looked like a 50-50 ball. He just flew himself in.
Was it 2 foot high?
I don't know. I've not seen the replay yet, but it didn't look that bad. So Kane's headed it. Oh yeah, he's gone in over the top. It's a sending off, but it's one of them ones that Kane's beat him to the ball. He's sort of coming to sort of half block it. Stud showing straight onto the ankle of Kane. It's one of them ones. There's no real malicious in it. There's nothing real horrible in it. He hasn't meant to do it, but it's a sending off. It's a red card.
So that's just evened up the pitch anyway. Tottenham have had Lucas Moura sent off in the 88th minute. I suppose if anything, that just gives Everton more confidence now.
Or it makes Tottenham go, we need to put this to bed.
Possibly, but I think bringing on Lucas would have been their way of saying, well, if we're going to catch them on the break, we need that. Like, obviously, Lucas is pacey, he's good with the ball. If they catch him on the break, you want someone like Lucas running with it. To lose him now,
yeah.
What option do they have to take the ball and run at their defence?
Will Everton are piling the pressure on, so Tottenham have all pushed back. And Everton are looking to press forward.
So looking at Tottenham's lineup now, obviously Son's been taken off for Lucas, who's just been sent off. So they've only replaced Son and Lenglet. So who could they bring on?
Oh,
really?
what a goal! What a goal!
Oh,
Michael Keane has just scored an absolute worldie.
So Everton are back in it.
And there's fans on the pitch.
Oh, it's all kicking off. Imagine if it's disallowed now. VAR.
Oh, the only way you can disallow it is for a centre back to score because he scored a goal like that. Just shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, so Everton are now back in it. Michael Keane.
Yeah, he's picked the ball up. He's about 30 yards, and he's hit an absolute rocket into the top right-hand corner. Hugo Lloris didn't even move.
So, obviously, that's going to have implications on the table. Just looking at 90th minute, is it too late for either side to get a winner? And if you was going to put your money on a winner now, you'd put it on Everton.
It's 6 minutes added on. We've got 6 minutes left. And Spurs on the attack. Oh.
Be heartbreaking. Imagine how heartbreaking it'd be if Tottenham just went straight ahead and scored.
And they nearly did then. Perisic just put one more. You want the corner for it. But that goal, the goal by Keane. Oh. As soon as he hit it, it's gone like a rocket into the corner.
His goal scoring centre backs. Remember Vincent Kompany's rocket against Leicester?
Yeah. Yeah, some fans have gone mental.
I can imagine, like if you're Everton in that situation, you've had a player sent off, you've conceded a penalty, you're losing the game, and then suddenly, like, you're still playing well, and then you score a goal. You almost view that as like a win, don't you?
Well, yeah, when you're going in with 90th minute to you've nicked a point. You've gained a point, ain't you? You've not lost. So you don't look at it like you've not gained. You look at it like you've gained a point and not dropped two.
Yeah.
So and then for Spurs, they're going to look at it like we've dropped 2 points here. We had 3, and we're going away with 1, and we should have been going with 3. So, but Spurs got to try and get back into this now.
So just to take a quick look at what that does to the Premier League table. So it basically goes back to how it was for the majority of the game. So Tottenham will, I think they go above Man United, but they don't go above Newcastle. No, they don't because of goal difference. And Everton, there you go, it's updated now. So Tottenham go into fourth with a draw. So they overtake Man United. But again, after this game, Tottenham have played 2 games more than both Man U and Tottenham. Both Man U and Newcastle. They've also played a game more than Brighton, but obviously if Brighton win, they close the gap on them to 4 points. Everton, on the other hand, looking at it from the opposite end of the table, a draw, whilst it does help them, obviously they need wins at the moment because they do move up to 15th. They have 27 points, but the gap between 15th and 18th is just 1 point. And then the teams below them, aside from Southampton, all have a game in hand. So whilst a draw doesn't really help Everton, it's better than what it could have been.
Hugo Lloris just need to give it. Ball's gone back to Lloris. Davis has charged him down, and the ball's at Davis. I thought it'd gone in there. Could have played it anyway. He's absolutely hammered it off of him. It's gone out for a goal kick.
There's a minute left now?
On mine, it's just gone into the 94th minute, so 6 minutes.
I can see some drama.
I hope so. Spurs are still playing silly little football around the back. They'll give the ball away. Just from knocking it around the back.
Is it just like a lack of confidence from Spurs, or is it just bad tactics?
I think it's just trying to do too much. Sometimes you've just got to get it out, and they don't seem to be doing that. They seem to just want to play little two-touch football around the defenders, and it makes no sense. Everton have closed it down every time. I think we got one last big long ball into the box from Everton here. Got 95th minute. Pickford stood over it, sort of close to the halfway line.
Yeah, you'd expect Pickford to just lump it as.
He's lumped it. He's won the header. Hugo Lloris finds the ball. He's not even looking to get it forward. He's played it out wide to Perisic, who's knocked it down the line. And the Everton players come absolutely steaming in and won the ball. Everton have done it all night long, closed down everything, chased after everything, not give Tottenham any sort of time or space. I think Spurs are going to have one last attack here. Oh, we got a corner. Spurs corner.
Could it be a heartbreak for Everton?
Well, it's going into the 6th minute now, so this is probably the last kick of the game. It's the Spurs corner. Perisic's going to take it. Outswinger. Just put it in. It's a poor corner headed away at the near post.
I think there's nothing more frustrating in football than when you have that.
There you go. Full time 1-1. Oh yeah, professional footballer that can't beat the first man is disgusting. I think it's terrible.
Okay, so the game's finished there 1-1. Everton reduced to 10 men. Everton actually starting in the first half as the better team, looking the more dominant.
I think Everton finished the game the better team as well. I think overall, Everton will obviously being 1-0 down, having a man sent off, getting a point in the 90th minute. They'll look at it as they've done all right there. But ultimately, I think Everton should be disappointed that they didn't want to win that.
So from a Tottenham point of view, now are you looking at Lucas Moura and saying he's cost them the game?
I don't know, because it's an absolute worldie of a shot. You could have had Lucas Moura and all of his family on the pitch, and that shot doesn't. It's a once in a lifetime shot from a centre back, ain't it? If you ain't going to do that But I think Everton will be disappointed. I think they're going to be happy because they got a point when they were staring at a loss. But ultimately, they were the better side. They deserve to come away with something.
No, okay. Well, I think then we'll take a quick look at the table and see what that does. Obviously, I've just gone through it, but we'll go through it again quickly. So the draw moves Tottenham up into 4th place. They leapfrog Man United on goal difference, with Spurs having a goal difference of +12, Man United having only +4. However, Man United and Newcastle have 2 games in hand on Tottenham. So that then leaves Brighton in 6th. Again, they also have, Brighton actually have 3 games in hand on Tottenham, looking at this. So if Brighton managed to win all 3 of their games in hand, they could actually go above Tottenham. So good day to be a Brighton fan. Brentford in 7th, Liverpool 8th, Villa 9th, Fulham 10th, Chelsea 11th, Palace 12th, Wolves 13th, West Ham 14th, Everton go to... I'm not sure what position Everton were before the game, but Everton are now in 15th. The worrying thing for Everton, though, is that they are 1 point clear of Leeds in 18th, and the teams below them, aside from Southampton, all have a game in hand. Nottingham Forest are 16th, Bournemouth 17th, Leeds 18th. Then you have Leicester 19th and Southampton 20th. Paul, good game?
I think it was a good game. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it. I think Spurs were nowhere near where they need to be if they want to get into 4th. And if Everton play like that every week, I can see them picking up points and being safe.
Yep. And so let's have a quick look at Everton's next set of fixtures. So Everton go to Man United next, where looking at how Man U played against Newcastle, if Everton play the way they did today, could you see them getting something there?
Yeah, nicking a draw maybe, sneaking a win. Yeah, definitely. I think Everton played really well today.
So I think if the downside that Everton have is the fixtures that they've got coming up. So obviously Man United away, then they have Fulham at home, Palace away. Then they
Fulham at home is a winnable game. Palace away is a winnable game.
Yeah. Then they have Newcastle at home.
Yeah, they played well tonight. So I think if they can get 5, 4, if they can get 6 points, they can get 2 wins out of them 4 games, or at least get 4 points, a draw and a win out of them. I think they'll be happy with that. I think they'll do all right. But they've got to look to beat Palace. They've got to look to beat Fulham.
I think if you're Everton, you've got to look at your next 3 fixtures. Man U, Fulham and Palace, and think you need to get results in those. They obviously, after Newcastle, they have Leicester. And then they have Brighton away and Man City at home on the final day of the season. And so they do have tough fixtures.
They could pick up some more points at Leicester.
Yeah.
I think the way they played tonight, if they can do that the rest of the season, I think they'll pick up enough points to be safe, especially with some of the teams that are already down there.
And then taking a look at Tottenham's remaining fixtures. So Tottenham next go to Brighton, followed by Bournemouth, then Newcastle, Man U, Liverpool, Palace, Villa, Brentford, and Leeds are their final games. So they don't have the worst set of fixtures in the world. I think next going to Brighton, that's going to be a tough game, but then following that will be Bournemouth at is it still called White Hart Lane? Or have they changed the name of the stadium now?
It's the
London Stadium.
Yeah, London Stadium's West Ham in it. I think it might just be the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Oh, okay. So they would probably fancy themselves against Bournemouth. Well, they would fancy themselves against Bournemouth, let's be honest. Newcastle, Man U.
They play the way they played tonight against Brighton. I think Brighton win.
Yeah. Then Newcastle, Man U, Liverpool. Do you think that Tottenham realistically could get top 4? I know you said yesterday you think the top 4 are the current. Well, not the current, but as it
not
was
the way they played. Not the way they played today. The way they played tonight. I don't think they get top 4 doing that.
Yeah. Okay, so we will leave the stream there. First live stream. Thank you for joining me, Paul. I think next time what I might do for the live stream is actually get the football on as well.
Yeah, I think. Well, we could do a 3 o'clock kickoff, couldn't we? One of the weeks, or we'll have a game each. Pretend we're Soccer Saturday.
Yeah. So before I let you go, I'm just going to get your prediction on tomorrow's fixture of Liverpool and Chelsea.
I'm going to go a high scoring draw, 3-3, 2-2, something like that.
Oh, okay. So with like when a manager gets sacked, you normally have like the new manager effect. Do you have that before you've brought in a new manager?
Sometimes you do, don't they?
Yeah.
They have a whoever takes over. I don't know who will take over at Chelsea.
I think it's the current assistant manager.
Yeah.
No, sorry, I think the assistant manager's also left. So I think it's a mixture of like the under-21s coach, goalkeeping coach, and someone else.
Yeah.
Then you've also got Leeds and Forest tomorrow.
I think that's a Forest win.
Bournemouth, Brighton.
Brighton.
And then Leicester against Aston Villa.
Leicester.
Is that more out of hope or?
Yeah, I can't say that then horrible lot are going to win.
Okay. All right. We'll end it there then. Paul, thank you very much.
And then have a good night.